really knows the answer. All right, 14 steps between my team and the Chaser final chase, right after these news headlines.
Coming up in the news, the Prime Minister confirms the live sheep export ban is still at least 3 years away. WA now home to the world's largest plant. And a preview of country footy across the state this weekend.
And thank you to the newsroom for that. There are 14...
This is GWN7 Local News.
Tonight, a PM steps in and saves the live sheep export trade for now. The Port Hedland Mayor denies all wrongdoing over a corruption claim. The biggest plant in the world is underwater in Shark Bay.
And the first weekend of winter, I'll have the weather at your place.
It's now 5:30 and we're live across Western Australia.
Good evening. After weeks of uncertainty, Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has said that the live sheep export trade is safe for the next 3 years, even though Labor is committed to phasing it out at some stage. WA farmers are relieved for now, but the RSPCA says the government should confirm an end date.
In 2019, Labor committed to banning live sheep exports, but the party's been quiet about a timeline ever since. And today, Prime Minister Anthony Albanese said the live sheep export trade is safe for now.
No one's envisaging a phase out in this term of government. We want to phase out the industry. We haven't put a time frame on that because we want to make sure that we consult with farmers.
The Premier doesn't support federal Labor's plan, saying current animal welfare measures are strong enough. New Agriculture Minister Murray Watt said the phase-out will happen after the government speaks with WA farmers.
Look, I'm aware that there are a number of people who would prefer that we not do this, but the reality is we did take this commitment to the election, and it is important that we honour our election commitments. We've made very clear that we want to work in consultation with the industry, with the WA government and others to make sure that we get this right.
The RSPCA said the Albanese government is on the right track consulting with farmers, but it's pushing for an end date for the trade, arguing 5 years would be a fair amount of time for the industry to make changes.
It's just a disaster-plagued industry and has been from the start. We need to value add the product, put more into the local economy and support farmers with a transition.
But WA farmers say there's no way to replace the live export trade that would financially support producers, leaving them in a tough spot.
There's not a viable alternative at the moment, and if there's not enough return in the processing sector now, then it's not going to be viable in the future. So I think it's pie in the sky.
Brianna Melville, GWN7 News.
The Mayor of Port Hedland, Peter Carter, is being investigated by the Department of Local Government. The case was passed on to the department by the Crime and Corruption Commission following an allegation of corruption brought against the Mayor. Mr Carter says he's done nothing wrong, and the CCC's decision not to investigate proves that.
The Department of Local Government will now be the judge and jury as it investigates an allegation that Peter Carter corruptly used his position as mayor to obtain or attempt to obtain financial benefits for himself. Mr Carter told GWN7 News today, as far as he's aware, the CCC has cleared him of the corruption claims, and while he's unable to comment on the matter right now, he intends to at a later date. After he submitted the initial complaint, former Mayor Camilo Blanco is calling out regulators.
I'm really directing my anger, if you like, to the regulators of government. They are really not doing their job and are absent in their responsibility. I don't have any faith in them whatsoever.
Corruption and Crime Commission parliamentary inspectors reported that 1 of 3 claims submitted by Mr Blanco merited an investigation.
I think he's going to have a big problem, with the info that's been submitted.
The Department of Local Government was contacted for comment but was unable to provide a response. Mr Carter also made the headlines recently when he resigned from his position on a local school board after he was seen being fed strawberries by a woman in a Vietnam hotel room during an online school board meeting. Mr Carter apologised for what he said was a stupid mistake. Amanda Sabatino, GWN7 News.
WA pharmacists are growing concerned over the slow take-up of flu vaccinations across the state. This month, every Western Australian will be able to get a free flu shot as the state government scrambles to avoid adding pressure to our hospital system with a predicted severe flu season fast approaching.
Getting a flu jab while wearing a suit, clearly not ideal.
Where's my media advisor?
The Premier forced to undress in front of the cameras for his flu vaccine as part of this month's flu jab blitz.
Didn't hurt a bit except for some embarrassment, that's all.
The state government making the jab free this month to try and avoid a potential explosion of flu cases.
Each and every year over the flu season, it puts enormous pressure on our hospitals. It just does. It does in every state, in every country in the world, because lots of people can get very ill and end up in emergency departments and hospitals.
Vaccine supply isn't a concern, but pharmacists are worried the public is suffering from vaccine fatigue.
What's happened here is people have forgotten flu, and flu's a killer.
Vaccinations are available by appointment at participating pharmacies and GPs, or you can walk in at state-run COVID clinics. Pharmacists are a key part of the rollout as WA rolls up again.
We're in every town between Esperance and Kununurra and all points in between, so they're massively important. The campaign depends on pharmacy being a provider along with the rest of the primary healthcare sector that normally does the job along with us.
The Premier confident we've passed the COVID peak. Just 7,092 new cases today, 9 people are in ICU, and we've had 6 historic COVID deaths of men and women in their 80s and 90s.
You might recall a couple of weeks ago there was a number of people out there saying it was going to be hit 25,000 a day. We're on the news every night saying that, demanding mask wearing. That obviously has not occurred.
But with 2 viruses on our doorstep, it's being described as a perfect storm. A shot in the arm, our greatest weapon.
They've been around for years, they're safe, they work, they're needed.
Tom Marlowe, GWN7 News.
Part of our coastline has made it into the history books, with researchers believing WA is home to the largest plant on Earth. The ancient and incredibly resilient seagrass off Shark Bay stretches across 180 kilometres. It's believed to be at least 4,500 years old.
Lurking beneath the waters off the Gascoyne coast, a major development for the world's maritime history books.
It's the largest plant on Earth.
Stretching across 180 kilometres off Shark Bay, researchers from UWA and Flinders University discovered the record accidentally. Initially diving beneath the surface to understand how genetically diverse the local seagrass meadows are, researching which plants should be collected for seagrass restoration.
Extract DNA from them and genetically fingerprint them, and then compare those fingerprints. So by doing this process, we were able to find out that those fingerprints for each of the DNA shoots are actually almost identical.
The plant managing to survive in the World Heritage Area's warming waters for thousands of years and offering food and a home for one of the world's most complex ecosystems.
A lot of your viewers are probably familiar with the dugongs and the turtles and the dolphins that people go up to Monkey Mia to see. But they wouldn't be in such a great, healthy state if it wasn't for the seagrass.
Shark Bay now on the map in more ways than one. Tom Marlowe, GWN7 News.
Lockie Byrne has today's weather, and it was a mostly clear day, Lockie.
Thanks, Noel. That's right. Some cloud and a few spots of rain to the very north and very south. But otherwise, it was a mostly clear and cool day. A trough lingering over the Kimberley, some heavy rain overnight, cloud developing over the Kimberley and central west coast this evening. A very weak cold front brushing past the southern coast today. 35 degrees, our official hotspot today. That was in Columbaroo. Broome, a top of 29. A touch warmer for the Pilbara today as well. Port Hedland reaching 26 degrees. 8 into 23 with some light southwesterly winds for Geraldton. A cool start inland. Laverton just 3 overnight. Kalgoorlie reaching a top of 17 at about 1:30 this afternoon. Just 18 the top south today. That was in Bunbury. Our lowest minimum just 1 degree overnight. That was shared by Narrogin and Lake Grace. Esperance reaching a top of 15 degrees today. To rainfall, and as I mentioned, a few heavy falls over the Kimberley in the hours until 9 a.m. this morning. Gibb River saw 41 millimetres overnight, 28 on Kununurra. Nothing too major in the hours since then today. And to the weather wall, a big thank you tonight to the Year 1 to Year 6 classes at Borden Primary School. Well done, guys. Now, not too much rain over the weekend, but will those temperatures warm back up? I'll have your full forecast right after sport.
Thanks, Lockie. See you there. And also ahead, bringing the joy of music to country schools and giving kids an opportunity to do something new. Crash officers are investigating a serious crash in Narrogin. At around 20 to 1 yesterday afternoon, a blue Holden Commodore was travelling north along Federal Street when it crossed onto the wrong side of the road. When the driver tried to turn back, he'd lost control of the vehicle and ploughed into a chiropractor's business. No one was in the building at the time. A 29-year-old woman, the passenger in the vehicle, was airlifted to RPH, where she remains in an induced coma in the ICU. The 25-year-old male driver was taken to Narrogin Hospital with a fractured arm and injuries to his leg. 5 schools in WA's Goldfields are set to get some special visitors. They're all music teachers and part of a new program designed to bring the benefits of learning music to kids who've never had the opportunity.
It looks like a simple activity, but these kids are learning how to use music as an outlet for their emotions. A new program by the Australian Children's Music Foundation, bringing music education to kids in regions that otherwise don't get specialist teachers. 3 music teachers sent to 5 schools in the Goldfields.
You can see they're joyous and they're very centred in themselves, and they feel like they're competent because they can do something. And you hear them after the sessions walking around singing together, and they remember everything.
More than $300,000 in a Lottery West grant will provide the music teachers and musical instruments that the schools get to keep. It follows research that found teaching music to kids benefits them socially, emotionally and in their learning.
The impact of music on children is extraordinary, whether it's across numeracy or literacy. I think more and more people are discovering too that it's about mental health.
Already a hit with the students at South Kalgoorlie Primary, the foundation will run the Goldfields program for at least 3 years, with school teachers also learning how to teach music to students so that music lessons can continue.
Seeing how much fun they had out of singing, there were so many smiles on their faces.
Brianna Melville, GWN7 News.
A drop in sheep prices, but a lift for cattle. With a look at this week's commodities, here's Tracy Dodds from Agora.
Wheat prices weakened this week following rumours that Ukraine might be able to release more grain through Russian-controlled ports. Whether Russia will allow these exports is unknown, and until a decision is made, there'll be volatility in the market. Barley prices fell even further than wheat, as the Australian dollar rallied past 72 cents American. Barley prices are very reactive to currency moves, as unlike wheat, they have no futures market to take direction from. Sheep prices continue to fall, but good quality lambs saw strong numbers in the yards. And as we heard a little earlier in the program, the Prime Minister has said there will be no end to the live sheep export industry for at least the next 3 years. Cattle prices have increased this week, with quality animals being sold at the West Australian yards. The Western Young Cattle Indicator is up 8 cents to 1,101 cents per kilo, and the Eastern Young Cattle Indicator up 26 cents, 1,126 cents per kilo.
OK, thanks Tracy. Coming up in sport, a look ahead to a huge weekend in country footy, while Speedway will be the talk of the town in Karratha.
Tonight's Sport Report brought to you by Tab Touch. Better your racing bet with Tab Touch.
Northern rising star Nathan O'Driscoll has today announced he'll remain a Docker for at least another 2 years, signing on with the club until the end of 2024. O'Driscoll didn't play a game last year in his first season with the Dockers, but burst onto the scene early this year, averaging 17 touches and a goal a game since his debut. His stellar form was cut short by a foot injury in round 8, but the classy winger from Northern is hoping to be back, making an impact in the team later in the season.
I'm going to have to go back through the waffle, and just stick to it, play good footy there, and then hopefully, take my opportunity again if it comes, because I want to be playing finals in this team, and I want to make it far in finals.
And it's a huge weekend of footy across country WA this weekend, with several clubs involved in top of the ladder clashes. Lockie Byrne has the details on the games to watch.
Nearing the halfway mark of most seasons across the state, this is the weekend to prove a point. And there's no bigger clash than two of the biggest clubs in the state fighting it out in the Bunbury Derby. The second place Tigers take on the ladder leaders in the Bulldogs on Sunday afternoon. The Boomers and Magpies will battle it out for a spot in the 4, while Collie will look for their first win against a struggling Lions. It's a grand final rematch in Geraldton. Brigade's the only team to beat Railways this year, as they'll look to get one back on the premiers. It's a top-of-the-table clash in Albany as well. The Tigers have lost just one game, looking for revenge tomorrow against the Mount Barker Bulls. Tonight, the Dampier Sharks and Karratha Cats will battle it out to sit atop the North Pilbara League ladder. And there could be some classic matches in the upper grade Southern League. Boddington and Wickerburn have been the best two teams this year, while Katanning and Williams face each other for the first time since their heart-stopping grand final. Lockie Byrne, GWN7 News.
In basketball, teams will take a mid-season breather heading into the long weekend, but the Geraldton Buccaneers have been reflecting on a stellar start to their season, featuring an extraordinary comeback and pushing through COVID outbreaks at the club.
It's not always easy sitting undefeated at the top of the ladder. There's the pressure and the hard work it takes to stay there, but that's where the Bucks like to be.
Yeah, it's time, it's time that we were back on top and getting the respect that we've had for the past 30 years.
It's surreal, really. It's insane, just the way that everyone gets around it and just loves being out here to support the club.
The Geraldton side has historically been known for their success in the NBL1 competition, and after a few hiccups last season, the Bucks' new imports have set the record straight.
It just seems like everyone's got confidence at the moment, which is so special with so much talent in the group. And Malik is just shining at the moment.
Malik Munier, hailing from the Eastern States, has played a pivotal part in the Bucks squad. Last weekend was his best performance against the Eastern Suns, racking up 31 points and 5 rebounds, making the impossible shot seem possible.
Munier now somehow found some space.
Really, it's a team effort the whole way. I was just lucky to be the one on the end of the shots.
Right now we're embracing everybody, and that's nice to do when you're winning.
While WA is learning to live with COVID, the Bucks weren't immune, and with several players out infected, they still managed a 26-point win against Mandurah Magic.
I think we had about 14 players and 12 staff out, and then I think we had 9 guys suit up, and boy, they just played great.
All NBL1 men's and women's teams will spend the next few days resting. Then the Bucks will start preparations for a double-header next weekend, while the Goldfields Giants take on the Perth Redbacks and the Slammers will suit up against the Willetton Tigers. Rachel Clifford, GWN7 News.
There's serious speedway action this weekend in Karratha. Racers now at full throttle in their preparations for the state production title. But the lead up to one of the biggest events on the regional motor racing calendar hasn't been without drama, after massive rainfall turned the track into a lake.
Just over 24 hours before racing, the car engine's already warming up. But the event was almost a boat race. Unseasonal weather dumped more than 120 millimetres of rain and put the Nickel Bay Speedway underwater. It took 3 pumps working a solid 2 days to reveal the track, but it's now pedal to the metal as organisers gear up for the event tomorrow night.
From where we were on Monday to now, where the roads were closed in both directions, to having the sun out and it's been shining all day, it's a massive positive for not just the club but everyone involved in this event.
It's a huge field of 55 drivers coming from all ends of the state, from Derby down to Esperance, going bumper to bumper to be number 1. Some of the favourites include top contender Kyle Sayer from Bustleton.
Made the track up here for the WA production title. They've had a lot of rain up here and they've done a really good job.
sorting it all out. So hopefully it's a really good weekend.
But all eyes will be on Karratha hometown hero Jack McCauley for the title, and he's not the only McCauley rolling out. Also in the charge will be his uncle Lindsay and his son Sam. The two cousins are third-generation competitors for Nickel Bay.
Really looking forward to racing against my son and nephew. Speedway's been our life for a long time, and yeah, it should be good fun.
3,000 people are expected trackside for the two-day event. Lockie Byrne, GWN7 News.
And Lockie is back next with a look at the weather forecast. Then ahead on 7 News, 70 years on the throne. The Queen's beaming smile as the Platinum Party gets underway.
Welcome back. Well, it's the first weekend of winter and the weather will stay very similar to what we've seen this week. A trough over the Kimberley will linger into next week. Another cloud band forming over the northwest early tomorrow. Possible thunderstorms over the Kimberley and northern interior. A cold front brushing along the southern coast tonight and into tomorrow. Chance of showers for the southwest land division through to the Eucla. By Sunday, developing showers over southern parts of the goldfields. Some thunderstorms, a chance for the Kimberley. Likely to see some more light showers along southern districts. A ridge of high pressure arriving over the southwest land division. And into next week, that cloud clearing for the Pilbara and Kimberley. Showers still a slight chance also for southern districts east of Augusta. And by Tuesday, showers possible over the northwest coast north of Geraldton, also for southern districts east of Walpole. Back to tomorrow, partly cloudy across the Kimberley, chance of some more rain for Halls Creek, just 24 degrees. Warming back up a touch for the Pilbara, Karratha and Port Hedland, reaching over 25 degrees. Exmouth, a top of 23. A bit of cloud returning down the coast, Carnarvon and Gascoyne Junction, 24. A cool southeasterly breeze for the central west coast, Geraldton reaching 22 degrees. Another cool one for the southwest, Collie dipping down to just 3 degrees overnight. Chance of some rain along the southern coast, Albany reaching 15 with winds to 40 kilometres an hour. A cool start for the wheat belt, a top of just 17 there in Northern. Cloud along the southeast coast, high chance of showers with strong winds for Esperance, 16 degrees. And another chilly one for the Goldfields, Coolgardie down to 4 tonight. Kalgoorlie a top of 16 tomorrow. To boating conditions, mostly fine north, east to southeasterlies reaching 20 knots between West Kimberley and the Pilbara coastline. The same between Geraldton and Lewin, a swell to 4 metres off, or 5 metres, excuse me, off the coast there. And a strong wind warning for the southern coast, so southwesterlies reaching 30 knots on a swell to 6 metres. Across the nation, a chilly day over east. Melbourne 15 with some rain. Showers easing for Brisbane, a top of 22 there. Top of 18 for Sydney, and Perth, a partly cloudy 18 the top there. Have a lovely weekend.
You too. Thank you, Lockie. And that is GWN7 News for this Friday evening. We'll be back later with updates. You can watch our news programs anytime you like on 7plus or follow our reports on social media. 7 News from Perth is next from our team right around the state. Have a great weekend. We'll see you on Monday. Good night, Western Australia.